Hello guys, this is a part 2 of the voice acting. This part's going to cover the body, mostly the body. There's been several lectures already about the body, and the last lecture about pushing the box. This is going to be somewhat similar. The only thing's different now that you're working with the audio clip. There's a lot of stuff that's sort of pre-planned for you. So there's some things to think about. First thing you want to really think about is first gather your reference, and once your reference is gathered, record yourself in front of the video, but think simplicity, make it simple. Don't overdo everything. So right here I have my guy in a standing position where I'm literally going to have him in this position pretty much for the whole time he's talking. What I'm going to do, I'm going to show you the steps I'm going to take to basically make his poses and what I would do. Because with audio clip, the things that you have out sort of already planned out for you is when you're going to hit these poses. You can per se, before he says his first line, I might want him to change posture, whether if it's a simple thing of shifting weight, where he moves his waist over here, or if he decides to, get this hand and bring it out, sort of gesture. So some of those things you can have predetermined before, and you can have it determined on where you want it to hit. So I want to go through about 10 minutes of posing this guy for this first little bit of audio. So first things first, I want to turn off all my face controls because I don't need those right now. I got my lip sync in from the last lecture.
Mind if I give you a bit of advice?
And I want to throw some facial expression as I am sort of animating the body. And a lot of this you'll get from your reference video. You'll shoot your reference video and you'll act it out, try to act it out almost to a T of what you actually want to animate. The more you do that, the better, the easier it's going to be to plan your animation, to put your animation together. Because you'll know exactly where you want your poses at, you know exactly where you want your poses to hit. So I'm going to select all my controllers, set a key on the very first frame. I'm also going to play through it a few times to gather what I want to say or what I want to pose.
You mind if I give you a bit of advice?
So what I want to do here, because I want this stance to be the general stance throughout the whole animation, because I'm mostly focusing on the acting. My camera is going to be pretty much straightforward, like if I'm talking to somebody that's standing right in front of him. And as he's taking this breath in and sort of say his first line, I want to get him to his second pose. So what I want to do is you got two options. You can use step key, which is basically a key that will keep it on basically this frame all the way up to the frame you have the next pose. Or what I like to do is I'll just copy this pose to about frame 15, and I know I want to have changed to a pose about frame 23, and I'll add that new pose right in here. And that new pose is going to basically be, he's going to shift his weight here and bring this hand up to like a friendly posture of, this is where it comes in handy to have your reference ready so you know what kind of posture you want to hit, how you want your hands to be, and to get a reference of, body weight. So I want to like dip his waist over just a little bit. I'm going to tilt his head. Oh, this is coming. His hand. And I'm not going to do it all the way to detail, but this is the time where you put the effort into making the hands, because the communication is going to come through the body, through his hands, through his facial expressions. The lips, obviously, is him talking. You want that to look good, but most of the communication, most of the information you will transfer over to the audience is going to be from his body posture. So make sure you got that to a point to where you want to make sure you make clean, recognizable poses and interesting poses. So that's the first pose I'm going to throw out.
You mind if I give you?
So all of this is pretty fast, but I'm going to sort of flesh out my poses first before I work on my timing.
You mind if I give you a?
So he says, "You mind if I give you?" And then when he goes to this, when he says "give you," I want to start changing, putting his hand up a little bit, going on to my third pose. So you can say, "So you mind if I give you?" And then right when he says a bit of advice, I want to. And right when I give you,
You mind if I give you a
right in here, I want to start going to his second pose, which I want to start bringing his hand up. This sort of gesture, like a bit of advice, but I want to bring it a little bit forward. Change his chest posture just a little bit. Go in, update his fingers. And I could do a lecture all about fingers because that's a really important thing as well, which I probably should have because it's very important. Oops, I can't get those to sort of rotate the way I want it.
You mind?
And see how the pose starts going right here? I'm going to hold this pose just a little bit longer, so I'm going to copy, middle mouse click, hold, drag to about right there.
I give you a. You mind if I give you a bit of advice? You mind if I give you?
So I want to have him sort of look at his hands, so it's what he sort of feels like he's sort of thinking, because he doesn't want to come off sort of like, I guess, arrogant about what he's about to say. So he wants to make sure he's saying it right. So I'm gonna have him look at his hand, his fingers, sort of like to sort of gather his thoughts, like to gather his courage type thing.
Bit of advice.
So I'm gonna have him hold that pose to about 53.
Bit of advice.
And so he says, when he says a bit of advice, I want to sort of go back to this pose. So on the middle mouse drag, kick back on that pose. I started having it hit at 70.
Bit of advice. I give you a bit. You a bit of.
Actually, gonna have it sort of hit sooner. And this is why even in posing, you want to try to keep all your keyframes on all your keys or on your controller, so you can easily move them around like so.
You mind if I give you a bit of advice? You mind if I give you a bit of advice?
Now, one thing I'm doing is I'm going back to this pose back here, but I don't want to have that exact same pose because this looks like he's doing the same thing. So
You mind if I give you a bit of?
Instead of having him bring his hand down, I'm going to keep his hand in the same position right here. I want to change his body posture.
Give you a bit of.
I'm going to change his hand just a little bit. So it goes out here. Open up his hands a little bit to sort of try to give a warm feel, because when you get into acting, especially for characters and animating a lot, you'll do a lot of research on body mechanics, just like the nature of people. And generally, when people come at you with their palms towards you, that means they're trying to be open. They're not being defensive. They're being more approachable. Those are little things that you'll learn through studying people in general. You don't have to take an animation class to learn that. That's through acting, through like FBI agents. And just people personality things. Just you can learn on your own when you see people talk. If you start giving advice to somebody and they start to get defensive, look how the body starts reacting. They'll start putting their arms either across their arms, or they'll sort of look away. They'll hide their hands. They'll put their hands in a position almost similar to what this is, to show a defensive position. But when they try to talk to you and they really care about you, they'll sort of bring their hands up, open them up, almost like they want to give you a hug in a sense.
You mind if I give you a bit of advice?
So this is
You
just
mind
a
if I
quick.
give you a bit of advice?
I theoretically had all my poses already drawn out, posed out from reference and everything else. And the good thing about when you do audio clips is you can throw these poses in almost about as fast as about as fast as I did if you do your research and you do your background and you make your animation poses and really focus on the posing, you can actually get this fast, and then you get this much
You mind if
information
I give you
across
a
really
bit of
fast.
advice? You mind if I give you a bit of advice?
And then the thing about the face, let's go back to the face real quick. Good thing about this rig is I can hide the face controllers and I hide my normal controllers, bring up my face controllers again. Now I want to work on my facial expressions. There, I sort of want to bring up a second window so I can see my face controllers without having to keep going back and forth with my actual acting. Probably want to get two big screens up so I can see them both, or just drag right in here, make this screen a little bit bigger. Sure, there's about 100 ways to do this, but normally I have two monitors at home and at work, sometimes three. And what I'll do is I'll go to panel perspective or tear off a copy of one of these and have it on my other screen so I can have a full screen on both sides. But here I'm going to work on the expressions. And the one of the biggest things you'll notice in like Pixar movies, a lot of games for kids, a lot of animated movies, that the eyes are huge. They're big. Why? Because they communicate more than what the actual mouth does. This guy can actually say nothing and get a lot of information because you never hear him say like as these guys talking.
You mind if I give you a bit of advice?
You can't tell if he's frustrated towards the
You mind if
person
I
he wants
give
to
you
give advice to, or if he's just straight up, happy he wants to give advice to him. But if you can tell by the eyes, like if they're constantly looking away, they're just not liking who they're talking to, you can tell by the eyes. So one of the things I want to do and I want to teach you about is just the simple blink, making an eye blink. So here you have the controllers for a blink. You can just scrub these down, scrub these up, scrub this up, and that's your eye. Theoretically, all your eyes blink at the same time, so you'll never try to blink one without blinking the other, unless you're just winking at somebody. But and these controllers are from the previous when we key all the facial expressions. But now I just want to focus on the eyelids. So in general, most of the time you can use a blink when you like in between. There's several ways to use them. You can use it in between folk or when somebody's saying something.
Mind if I give you a bit of advice?
Like right in here, you could probably have a blink. And other times you want to use a blink.
You mind if I give you?
It's like, see, when he goes to turn his head, you can blink his eyes. And normally when you blink your eyes are darting to a different position. Like if I'm gonna have him blink his eyes, I'm gonna have him look at his hand. And then when he blinks his eyes again, I'm gonna have him look back at the camera. So let me do that for you real quick. I'm gonna set it up real fast so I can get an idea of where am I gonna have my blinks at. So I'm gonna have one blink through here. I'm just gonna go ahead and blinks are very interesting, and I'll get to you about those.
You mind if I give you? You mind if I give you a bit of advice?
You notice I'm doing it several different ways just to give you guys ideas of how to sort of approach and work a little faster or just. So I have his eyes blinking now, just generic blinks.
You mind if I give you a bit of advice? You mind if I give you a bit of advice? You mind if I?
So this is going to focus on the eyes real quick. So on the eye blink, if you look at your eye, when your eye blinks, your first blink when you blink down is super fast. Mostly because your eye's trying to get, wet your eye, oxygen or moisture or whatever. But when your eye, so to make your eye look realistically open and blank, have it shut and have it shut for a while, and then slowly open up. Like right now, it's open up to full strength. I want to put a key right, or I want to get this key, drag it just a little bit over here, get this about a couple frames in between, push it down. So what it's going to do, it's going to close and then open fast up to this point, but then it's going to slowly get to its full extent.
You mind if I give? You mind if I give you a?
One of the other things that let me get the eye controllers up. Oh, the eye controllers are actually in the body controls. Yep, they sure are. Obviously, you want to do these at the same time. But one thing about this is when the eye blinks, your eye actually sort of rotates down when you blink. Then as you come up, they're still sort of down, but as your eyes come up, and a lot of like this character is not as advanced, but most of the time when you move your eyes around, oh yeah, it has it. See how his eyelids are moving with his eyes? That's some work that's done with the the controllers the character has, which makes it fairly easy or helpful when you're doing animation. So that's really a really good essence to have when you're animating face stuff and doing eye blinks.
You mind if I give you a bit of advice?
So that's a little bit on eye blinks, and you want to try to every time you eye blink.
You mind if I give you?
Like when he goes to blink, you know, you want to push his eye down a little bit. Then it's gonna come up, but usually after the dart, like after the blink, you want to have his eyes sort of dart. So right now they're sort of looking this way, but after the blink, I'll do another frame this way. I'm gonna have more of like he's looking at his hand. This is at his hand. So and depending on how you want the character, you don't have to have his eyes this wide open.
Bit of advice.
And try to have the eyes always look before the head turns, in a sense. And things with eyes, they usually happen within a frame. They're not something that sort of. It's called like eye darting.
I give you a bit of advice.
It's really.
You mind if I give you a bit of advice? You mind if I give you a bit of advice? You mind if I give you a bit of advice?
I'll try to throw up another
you mind if I give you a
tip
bit of advice
on eye blinking.
You mind if I give you a bit
some
of
more
advice?
tips later, but for the most part,
I give you a bit of advice?
Once you get to this part, it's all about polishing your body, just like you did in the other animations and everything else. But the acting is not too much different. You get most of your information from actually reference video and just dissecting your reference video and choosing where to make your big movements. And keep it simple, keep in this pose. Most dialogue animations I've seen and I've done are basically keeping the character in a specific position, because most of the time they're talking to somebody, they're trying to communicate something. And yeah, you can have them moving around and stuff, make it complicated, but at this stage in your animation, just keep it simple. You can make really simple animation, really high quality simple animations.